What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be talking about Humminbird electronics, MEGA360 and Humminbird MEGalive. We're going to talk about the differences in the two, which one outshines the other in different applications, you know, different techniques and baits you can use with these electronics, and ultimately which one is better. So hopefully if you're in the market for one of these type electronics, maybe this video will help you narrow it down, or just help you decide if you want both of them. So let's go drop the trolling motor and start fishing. So guys, generically, if you were to ask me which one is better, MEGalive or 360, you know, I wouldn't be able to tell you straight up, because it all depends on your circumstances. What type of lake, body of water you're fishing, what kind of bait those fish are feeding on. There's a whole bunch of different, you know, muddy water, clear water, there's a whole bunch of different variables that come into play when you're choosing which one is better. And I'll just go ahead and say straight up out the gate, that's why I use both of them. They are both so great to use in different applications, using them together. You know, I run mine off a Humminbird Ethernet switch, so I can put my MEGalive on both graphs if I want, and that really comes to play, you know, with my bait tracking and stuff. I have a 12-inch Solix up here and a 10-inch Helix, but we'll get into the settings and the setup and all that later in the video. But first we're going to do a little bit of fishing and talk about the difference in them. So I'm just going to start out with a jig, because we're out here on a river system, a bunch of current. We got a little stain to the water, fishing up in the river, so there's, you know, there's not much out here. We're just running a channel edge, looking for some structure, some rock and stuff. And so right over here is like 2 foot deep, and over here is about 20. And so you're having a very steep drop. And what I've noticed running the MEGalive is when you have that big of a drop, it makes it hard to get that transducer right in the perfect strike zone to see that fish good. And so that's why I like the 360, because not only does it send a 360, like a 360 view around the boat, it doesn't matter which way my transducer's pointed, it's still going to read the same area no matter where the boat's at. And so I like that, because if I can't pick these fish up with the MEGalive, you know, looking at them, tracking them, moving, live view, I can look over and, you know, see the fish on the 360. And sometimes they're hard to see, but it picks up the structure so good. So like if you're fishing rocks or a brush pile or something, dude, stumps, the 360 is amazing for that. So here's a really good example. You know, I don't see hardly anything. There's actually fish mixed in with that little clump of grass. But if I look on the 360, like up on top of this ridge, those fish are like hiding under the drop. And so a lot of times the 360, you'll be able to see them a lot more than on the live. But there they are. You can see them. I'm at the perfect angle now. And then the 360 is a little cluttered because, you know, I moved the trolling motor as it was panning around, and it didn't get a good read, but it's reading good on the live right now. I was actually fishing the BFL Super last September on Gunnersville, and this is before I had the MEGalive. I just had the 360 and the normal down imaging transducer. I'll go ahead and spot lock us right here while I talk. But anyways, I was fishing a river bar, and there's like 3 stumps on it. And if these fish were not pulled up, I was just sitting there spot locked in between the 3 stumps. And if these fish were not pulled up and I couldn't see them on the 360, they wouldn't bite, you know, because obviously they weren't there. So I would sit there and watch my 360 ping, and as soon as that school of fish would pull up on the stumps, I'd make just a little pitch over to the stumps, because I was probably like 40 or 50 feet away from them, and boom, I'd catch them just about every time those fish would pull up. Now, it got a little boring, you know, sometimes you'd sit there for like 20 minutes with no bites, and then you finally start to see them pull up on the 360, and you start catching them. So finding structure and, you know, dragging baits, doing something old school, fishing brush piles or stumps like I was just talking about, I think the 360 excels in that. Now if you're searching for some, you know, if you're on like Smith Lake or a Highland Lake with a bunch of blueback herrings, a bunch of shad eaters with clear water, you know, the MEGalive is going to be it's gonna be the way to go. Break out the old light tackle finesse, spinning rods and stuff, ball head jig, the Mega Live. You can't beat it for that. And I'm actually looking forward to next week. I'm gonna go to Smith Lake and just drop everything that I've been doing out here on the river and change it completely. Go light line and small baits and stuff, and use the Mega Live to its advantage. So yeah, pointing out structure, finding structure, the 360 excels. And not just out here in the open water, but say I was fishing like a riprap bank or something, and you know, I seen a rock pile or something, I could pick up a jerk bait. You know, I've been throwing the jerk bait over some structure here in the last month, and it's really helped me to catch fish. Every once in a while I'll see them pick up on the Mega Live and watch them actually eat it. And so it's a deadly combo. The 360 and the Mega Live is a deadly combo, especially if you can take new style techniques and mix them with your old school stuff. It's like I've got a best of both worlds over here. I've got jerk bait, crankbait, chatterbait, moving baits, crankbait, and then I got my old school dragon stuff right here, and the Mickey rig, of course. It's not old school, but yeah, guys, I'm gonna try to catch a fish real quick. There it is. Decent smallmouth. It's a daggum deformed looking smallie. He might be a mean mouth. Get one on it. Got him. Watch that joker eat it. That joker looks huge on the freaking live. Hey guys, one thing to always keep handy whenever you're fishing with electronics a lot is good old screen cleaner. It makes a huge difference. Being able to see these fish, be able to tell them apart, see your bait good, having a clean screen really makes a big difference. So we'll kind of run through just my settings and everything. So this is me running Mega Live on both screens. And like I said earlier, I can do this because I run the Humminbird Ethernet cable, the 5-port adapter. So that allows me to run one transducer on 2 screens. And so what I do is right here on my Solix, you can see there's a little purple haze behind this. And this makes it better for bait tracking. So if I'm on like Smith Lake or something, I'm definitely gonna have this pulled up because it helps me be able to see my bait better. Plus I have a bigger screen, so that helps too. And I don't run that, and I think that's called persistence mode, but I do not run that on the Helix. So anyways, we'll run through. You know, I like the persistence mode on the Solix if I'm running both, because it allows me to bait track better, and you know, you can change color palettes if you want to. I most of the time just run palette number 3, but sometimes I'll swap to, let's see, it's the lime green. Yeah, sometimes I'll swap to 5. But you know, you got to go through and change your sensitivity and everything. Changing palettes, you know, it's a different look. It's going to change, so you got to go in there and change all your stuff. But right now I've been keeping it on 3 just for what I've been fishing. And so normally if I'm on the river like I am today, I'm going to run the map on an M360 on a 30/70 split screen. And so this is what it normally looks like. You know, you've got the 360 ring, but here's a little trick, guys. So on the Solix, I can just click right here, and instead of having a full 360 field, I'm just going to do front view. And so that breaks it down a little bit, makes it a lot more defined. You're not panning around the back and all the unwanted angles. You're just panning up at the front what you're wanting to fish. Now if you're fishing behind you, you know, you can turn it back, of course, but the way that I like to fish, you know, I leave it on this front, and you know, running with the map and the 360 up here, and then the Mega Live down on its own screen on the 10-inch. That's just the best setup that I've found so far. So as far as the 360, these are my settings that I like right here, and this is really defined structure good, and you can see fish a lot of times. But you know, if you're wanting to see structure more or less, you're gonna crank up sensitivity, drop the contrast, vice versa, you know, just figure it out. Just go through these settings. But I like to keep my sensitivity at a 9, my contrast at a 12, no sharpness, 360 speed. I keep it at a 4. And my range, it depends on what I'm doing. Right now I'm doing 80 foot. If I'm fishing a grass line and these fish are hugged tight up to the grass line, then I'm gonna want to bring it into like 60 or 70 feet and position the boat closer to the grass line. That way I can see these fish more, because it's gonna make that image a lot bigger and a lot more clear. So if you have fish hugged right up on the grass line, bring that range in so that you can see those fish a little bit more. Now they might look a little bit bigger than they normally are, just because, you know, you have a smaller range of view that you're shooting out there. But now we'll go to the megalive. Let's see, right now I keep my angle, my transducer angle at 30 degrees. My sensitivity is at a -2, contrast is at a 15. My forward range, I normally keep it about 90, and the down range I vary. You know, right now it's 25 feet. If I'm fishing super shallow, I'm gonna drop it down to like 15-ish. I never really go below 15-ish, just because, you know, if you're trying to see fish on the megalive and catch them, kind of like sight fishing with your screens, and they're kind of hard to catch shallower than about 10-ish feet on it. So I don't really ever put my transducer that low. But, you know, if I'm fishing Smith Lake, I'm gonna put it on like 50 or 70 feet, just because that water is so deep, and those, you know, those fish will get pretty deep. So just play it by ear, whatever you're fishing. I'm out here on the river, so keep it 25 feet. If I'm fishing like a main channel ledge in the summertime, I'll drop it down to 35, just so I can see the bottom, because if I'm throwing a jig or something, obviously I want to see what I'm fishing. So guys, we kind of talked about, you know, the differences when I like to use, you know, megalive versus 360. We went over my settings that best suit me. You know, these settings, you're going to change them depending on what the conditions are. Clear water, you know, you might have sensitivity and contrast a little bit different than you would in muddy water. If you want to see your bait on a certain day, you know, the sun, whether it's sunny, cloudy outside, all these things play into effect. So every day is going to be different. You know, some days I fish out here on Wheeler one day, and then the very next day come out here, you know, slightly different conditions. I'm gonna have to bump my sensitivity up or down, whatever the day calls for. So take these settings with a grain of salt. Now with the 360, I haven't touched those settings in about 2 years. So the 360, I think those settings are good for you just about anytime, except for the range. You know, changing your range, I do that almost every trip depending on what I'm fishing. If I want to see further or see closer, you know, that's really the only setting I have to change on the 360. But overall, you know, we're trying to figure out which one's the best, especially for those of you that are trying to figure out which one to buy. You know, you don't really want to spend the money on both. One thing that got me, because I didn't want to, when I was looking for the megalive, I didn't want to have to invest in a new battery. If I went with Lowrance or Garmin, you know, I would have had to get a Garmin or Lowrance screen, then a transducer, power box, and all that. And so I already had the Helix and the Solix, and all I needed was the transducer, because I already had the Humminbird set up. I had my Ethernet port. That way I could just sew the transducer on the trolling motor, hook everything up with Ethernet, and boom, that's all I had to do. But yeah, guys, I didn't want to spend all that money, so I just bought the transducer. Didn't have to get a new battery and everything, because Humminbird transducer actually pulls less amperage than Garmin and Lowrance, and there's no black box or power box, whatever they call it, that you have to put in there. You know, it just runs straight from your battery up there, or however you have it wired, if you have a junction somewhere at the dash. But very simple. Very good unit. I definitely don't think the megalive is as good as Garmin and Lowrance, but for the money and everything you get with it and the setup that I already had, you can't beat it, in my opinion. So guys, ultimately, if I was to choose one of these transducers, the 360 versus the megalive, I'm going with 360 all day, guys. I can live without megalive. I can live without any forward facing, but the 360 has truly changed the way that I fish completely. It's opened up my eyes, you know, stuff that I'd been fishing for years. I didn't really realize what I was fishing until I could see the structure down there on the 360, be able to pinpoint my cast. And guys, I 10 out of 10 recommend the 360. The MEGALIVE is great, but I can do without it. But my old school roots are shining. I like to drag a jig, Texas rig, all that stuff, fishing structure, you know, still using my imagination a little bit. So yeah, guys, 360. I'm team 360. Forward facing's fun. You know, I caught some watching them eat it on the eat the jerkbait on the MEGALIVE, and it's fun. But 360 changes the way I fish completely, guys. So if you got any questions, please drop them down in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, guys, and I appreciate you watching. If you made it this far, hang around on the channel. I'm about to go try to catch a bass. Got a couple more hours of fish, so we'll see you on the next one.